Hey, it's Chuck Armstrong with Loudwire Nights, and this is Loudwire Nights On Demand. I don't know what else to say other than we got to hang with Nick Hexum of 311. Enjoy this conversation. This aired on Friday, September 27th. Here you go. Over the summer, we tossed out a question to the Loudwire Nights audience and asked them to tell us what's the better 90s alternative album between 311's self-titled record and Beck's Odelay. Now, both are iconic in their own rights, both, I think, staples in the sound of that decade. But the audience made their voice pretty loud and clear when they said 311 was it. That album is nearly 30 years old. Yeah. Our special guest had no idea where I was going with that.
I know.
That album, nearly 30 years old, but don't think for a second that means 311 is, a nostalgic act these days. It's 2024. We're still celebrating all things 311, from their Always Electric live shows to their brand new song, their first new song in 5 years, I believe. You're Gonna Get It. So hanging with us tonight, talking about all of this, is the one and only Nick Hexum. Nick, thank you so much for being here, man.
My pleasure. Greetings from Nags Head, North Carolina. I'm on the Outer Banks, and fortunately the weather has cooperated.
Right on, man. I'm happy to hear that. So listen, as you hear things like that, right, the self-titled album still getting love nearly 30 years later, what runs through your head?
It was a very exciting time. We did record it 30 years ago. It was 94. And during Grassroots, our second album, we didn't have a home. We put our meager possessions in storage, and we just lived on the road and just said, we're just going to tour until we go gold. We didn't quite make it to gold, but we could just really feel the momentum was picking up. And then we decided we wanted to make a very high energy live sounding album. We recorded the basic tracks all at once and kept the songs kind of short and to the point because, the feedback we were getting was that our live album or our albums didn't measure up to our live performance because Grassroots was recorded in our living room that we had in our little house in Van Nuys. So we were like, okay, we're going to bring that ripping energy into the studio. And, we were also listening to a lot of dance hall and hip hop. So we, dropped in some loops and percussion and 808s and, try to just make it all the best of what we do, but really focusing on having a lot of energy with songs like Hive and Down, and it was a very exciting time. And yeah, we were definitely listening to a lot of albums like Beck's Odelay and Public Enemy, and as well as the heavier stuff from like Soundgarden, and it was an exciting time. And there is just a magic energy when we play those songs live, and Don't Stay Home gets everybody singing along and clapping, and All Mixed Up I think was the first single, and it didn't really catch on. The third single was Down, and that's the one that really did blow up. It got a buzz clip on MTV, and then we re-released All Mixed Up as, actually that was the second single, and we put it out again as the fourth single, and that really ended up having a lot of legs, and that's a real fun one to play live. So that's my general recollection of the era.
Yeah. No, it's a pretty good recollection, man. Do you enjoy reflecting like that, looking back? Is that something you do?
Yeah, I'm totally cool with nostalgia, but it's we also mix in new songs, and I think with You're Gonna Get It, to have a really ripping riff like that, that's an energy high point of the show is really exciting. So, but I understand that when I go and see a band, like when I went to go see Paul McCartney at the Staples Center, the place lights up most when he's playing the really old stuff, playing Beatles songs. But I also love his newer stuff too. So just make it a little bit of everything.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's just interesting to hear you, reflect on that and think about, with Grassroots, you guys are going to be on the road until it goes gold. I mean, that was your second album. Like, that's such a clear direction that you guys had for a band, right? Like, we want gold, and so we're going to do this until we hit that. What were you guys always that sort of energetic as far as your goals go? early on in early on?
Yeah, I think we had that Midwestern Omaha
Yeah.
work ethic that we didn't expect any, shortcuts. We just expected work real hard. And, the grassroots philosophy is something that we still keep going today. So a couple of years after the Blue album, we said, like, we're just going to be a touring band. That's what we're best at. We're going to tour every summer, no matter what, keep that direct relationship going with our fans, kind of taking an influence from like the Grateful Dead's model. And I think that was turned out to be a smart move because, of course, the whole recording side of things collapsed around the time of Napster. And but fortunately, we'd already kind of pivoted to what is the new model, is that it's really just about touring. When we first got signed, the record company would pay tour support and everything to just get you out on the road and take a loss on that side in order to sell CDs. And then there's been a 180 where more or less now people are just kind of giving away music for free to get people to the shows. Yeah. So it's been a big pivot in the business model. And now fortunately, the record side is recovering through streaming and so forth. And fortunately, the streamers figured out a way to make it a better experience than the pain in the butt you have to go through to get free music. You know what I mean? So yeah. I definitely am happy to pay for the convenience of Apple Music or Spotify. So it's been interesting to see all the big changes.
Yeah, well, it is interesting to think like you guys have been doing this for, I mean, as a band for more than 30 years. We're talking about the Blue album being 30 years old, but you guys have been doing this for even longer. And to consider all of those changes that you've seen in the industry. But one thing certainly has remained the same, and that is the live aspect of the band. And, I'm based in Kansas City. I really connect with the Midwestern work ethic. You guys have always loved the market, man. You guys have always come through. And in fact, I think you played a couple shows on 420 here this year, which was great. But that sort of energy, that excitement around the 311 live show, like to consider the early days and today, that has always remained consistent. And it sounds like that was always kind of the priority for you guys.
Yeah, because, the tradition of music, I like to study history a lot, and rhythmic music has probably existed for 100,000 years. The melodic side with, the bone flutes and stuff probably came in 50,000 years ago. But it really goes back to one group of guys playing an instrument and other people dancing to it. Like, this is something that is just so inherent of what makes us human. And then the whole recording thing has just been a teeny blip on the 100,000 year history of music. So I just feel like when bands ask for advice, like, just do gigs, just play live. And I think I said that on the Blue album. If you can't kick it live, you're going to die. You can't be, just a studio band. You really have to develop your chops. And we always, we're influenced by the really high energy, explosion in the late 80s with, Chili Peppers, Fishbone, Jane's Addiction, people that would bring just punk rock intensity to their live shows. And so, that's what we did, just like unleashing. And so now I think when we're out here touring, there's a lot of exercising and just getting ready to really give an energetic show. Because if I go to see a show and they're just standing there and, I don't like a shoegazing show. I want to see people rock out.
Yeah.
Mick Jagger, of course, is the energy unleasher in them all. So yeah, we just want to put that first because it's something that you can't recreate. You can watch videos on YouTube, but it's nothing like being there and just feeling the reaction from the band and the crowd together. It's like a big collective consciousness.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know what that's like from your perspective, but it's the same as a fan. I mean, that as a fan too. You just said you don't want to be gazing at your shoes. To be able to connect with the songs, connect with total strangers in the venue. Vibing at the same beat, singing the same lyrics. There's just nothing like it. Well, you also said, as you play live shows today, definitely playing the hits, but, playing new stuff too. we've got a new song from 311 this year. You're going to get it. How's it feel to have this out in the world, man? It's been a little bit since we've had new music to celebrate.
Yeah, it has been 5 years. COVID and everything made everybody just hunker down and regroup, and we were able to during do live from the Hive sessions where we were doing streaming concerts just to keep something going with our fans. But now I feel like we're in a new zone where we're not only excited about the new album that we made, which is it's mixed, it's in the can. We're just finalizing like artwork and release date and everything, but it is coming out this year. And but now I think we're also looking to make sure that we don't have such pauses between our albums, and like we're in the zone now. Let's make new music. We kind of feel like we found a new vein working with Colin Britton, who's a young badass producer, and also Tim Pagnotta, as well as Scott Charleston, who's been a long time sound man and producer. So there's just morale is high, and yeah, when we do that build and the drop for You're Gonna Get It, it's like, okay, this is 311 at its peak.
That's awesome, man. Well, and also for listeners who haven't seen the music video's a ton of fun too, man. And you must have had a blast filming this. This small little Fight Club movie celebrating new music, man. That had to be so much fun.
Yeah, give a lot of props to my longtime dear friend Brian Bowen Smith. Like he did our Enlarge the Show Detail Part 2. He was in a lot because he's just such a character. Coming from a tradition of like Jackass and the Tom Green Show, just like doing crazy, skater kind of pranks and shenanigans. And so we've been close with him since the Blue album. And then when he heard the song, he's like, I've got it, a Fight Club, because You're Gonna Get It. Just, it sounds like, fisticuffs. And so fortunately I had, done some training as a boxer, sparring as a light heavyweight and stuff. So I knew how to do plausibly do the stance and how to throw good punches. And then I, learned Hollywood fighting, which is how, to have the camera behind you so you can't actually see that whether the fist connects and snapping your head back and sweat goes flying. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we had our fans in there. We did a open casting call to invite people to come down to be in the video. So there's a lot of very genuine energy of all the people that are in the ring or around, creating the ring around us when we made that video. So it was really cool.
I love that, man. Well, you talking about that also makes me think about you guys recently did a Tiny Desk concert with NPR, which has just become one of the coolest, most sought after things, it seems, for every single band to do. And so I think about you making a fun music video like this, different than anything you've done before, doing something like a Tiny Desk concert. All these years into your career, everything you've already accomplished, all the accolades you've already chalked up, you're still able to do new things and experience new things. I mean, it's gotta be one of the best feelings for you as a frontman of this band.
Yeah. There's always new frontiers, and the only thing that can really kill an artist is if you get a feeling of like, oh, we've done everything. There's still so much to do, so many new styles to explore. And yeah, the whole environment of being at Tiny Desk where you're in there super tight and there's no like separation. So everybody has to like, kind of play quiet to not overwhelm anybody else. And, just totally dry, no effects, no reverb, anything like that makes it's a very special, intimate setting. So it was a little nerve wracking, but it went really good. And then other new, to go back to Europe for the first time in 20 years and play for people that have never seen us before. It's kind of like getting back into that hungry vibe of, what we were talking about, the grassroots area where we're just driven to go break new ground.
Is that kind of what keeps you moving forward? I mean, obviously I know you love playing live and hearing your excitement around the new song and the, new album coming obviously keeps you moving forward. But is that also like one of the things that keeps you excited about this, kind of just those new horizons, those things that you still have yet to do or that you haven't done for so long?
Yeah. Like there's more people to touch their hearts. We get such inspiring feedback when we, meet fans and do the meet and greets and so forth, of people saying, I heard from somebody a couple nights ago in Boston, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. My friend took his own life. I was at an absolute low point in my life, and I discovered your music, and it gave me hope. And like, that is such a sort of higher calling than just sex, drugs, and rock and roll, Yeah. So when we think about new territories, and we're looking at possible Australia dates and stuff, like, just that we keeping that in mind, that there's people to touch who could really connect with our hopeful, positive vibe. So we really want to make as much best use of our time that we have here on Earth to connect with people.
Amen, man. Well, that's a great way to wrap this up, because at the beginning we're reflecting right on the last 30 years. And I know it's so easy to sort of just think like, all right, because me as a fan, I bought the Blue album 30 years ago. So I have been a fan for that long, but just like what you're sharing now, over the course of those 30 years, it's not like you've only maintained those fans, right? Like, new generations and new fans come up. And so even as you reflect on that legacy, even as you get nostalgic, to still think like, through that music that's been around for 3 decades, still brand new people are discovering 311. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah. And seeing a lot of parents and kids come together. The other day, somebody gave us a vintage Lego box that was set number 311. So it was really, really old. And they gave it to us so we can display it at the Hive, and said, the one thing that our whole family loves is Legos and 311. So it was just kind of a beautiful thing. So we're seeing a lot of people bringing their kids. And so that's like a whole new set of hearts to touch, and it's just a really beautiful thing to be a part of.
I love it. Nick Hexum, thank you so much for hanging tonight, man. Congrats on this new 311 song, and I gotta say, you just brought it up. I didn't even have to ask. Congrats on this new album that's coming. You can grab 311's tour plans, stay up to date with everything at 311.com. Nick, I gotta say, it's such a privilege to get to share some space and time with you tonight. Hopefully we can do it again soon, man.
Thanks so much. This was fun.
That wraps up this episode of Loudwire Nights on Demand. Stay caught up with everything happening in the world of rock and metal on the Loudwire app and at loudwire.com.